Welcome to the Mind Body Temple podcast, your healing space with Dr. Rod. The purpose of this podcast is to bring back hope to patients with chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. Through these podcasts, I invite sometimes patients and sometimes experts to come and have discussions about the mind-body concept. Today, I have the ultimate pleasure of having Stephy Black, who is an expert in Qigong and mindfulness and healing, with me that accepted our call to come here and have a discussion related to the mind-body concept and tell us about what Qigong is about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here today. Healing is about the mind, body, spirit connection. So I'm so glad with the work you do and your expertise, you integrate it all. So I love that. So as you said, I'm a Qigong and meditation teacher, and I'm trained in the School of Spring Forest Qigong. There are many different modalities, but Spring Forest Qigong, founded by Master Lin, is focused on healing, on self-healing. He always says we are all born a healer. And he has a saying, in a world without pain and suffering. So what I do is I teach Qigong online twice a week. Mm-hmm. I'm a certified trainer and practice group leader. And then I also bring in what they call internal refinement. Different word than meditation. It's the same thing except for the fact the difference between Qigong meditation and meditation is you are facilitating your own body's healing.
It's amazing. Internal
refinement. Do you like that term?
I really love that. I tell my patients it's as if you're reorganizing the library of your mind.
Yes, yes.
Refine yourself from inside.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Like this whole concept of mind-body medicine is gaining more momentum, and I'm glad that it has been a lot of awareness raised about it. But we talk about mind and we talk about body, we talk about spirit. The definition of these are really fluid, and it's difficult to say which one is what. And I think that this whole one human life experience, that we, in order to understand it, try to divide it into different definitions of mind and body and spirit and energy. But there's always this component of energy that is very important. I see with my patients, chronic pain is a condition that affects all aspects of one's life. And it's difficult to find a chronic pain patient that doesn't have a sleep problem, doesn't have energy problem.
I can only imagine.
All of these things, we call them comorbid conditions. They come together. And if we can focus on the energy aspect of it, it's very important for us. But there's always this step-by-step program that I run patients through in order to come to the situation that they can heal themselves. The first most important step is why. Why do you want to get better? And then that finding your purpose and finding your goals. But then the second step is making peace with yourself, like being at peace with yourself, to be able to have compassion for yourself. And the main reason that is important, I tell them it's like you are building this mind-body temple that has 7 floors, but this temple is built upon a foundation. The purpose, finding your purpose, and making peace with yourself are the foundations of this structure. Like any structure, if the foundation is wobbly, it will crumble. I tend to repeat this through these podcasts many times.
It's important.
Because it's very important. Now, making peace with yourself, why is it important? Because if you don't, you will wasting life energy. And then because of that, you cannot heal. It doesn't matter how many skills you learn. You can learn all the meditation skills of the world. But if you're occupied by that internal conflict, if you're fighting with yourself, if you are disliking yourself, and that is the reason that you are in fight with yourself, you waste energy there, the energy that you can channel towards healing. So is this useful in your concept of healing?
Absolutely. What we share in Spring Forest Qigong is self-love is very important because we are all connected. So if you love yourself, you have empathy for your pain. And instead of beating yourself up, you're understanding that this is the story right now. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the story of your future.
Yeah.
So I love that you have the foundations. And in the foundation of Qigong is our connection to all that is, right? We often say a password when we're going into the what's called the emptiness, the void, which many mystics will talk about, right? Where the healing can begin. We will say, I am in the universe. The universe is in my body. The universe and I combine together. And you go to that emptiness, that you are part of the universe is in you, and you are, when you love yourself, you love the universe too. And it's all connected. When we don't feel so alone in our pain, like why me? But the fact is that this is part of a chapter that you're healing. Words and thoughts have energy. So if you've been self-critical and full of self-hatred, it's harder to get, and you can correct me on this as a doctor, but generally it can be harder to get better because your body is, you're talking to it horribly. If we're energetic beings and we're saying, I don't even like using the word HATE, I don't, you're actually sending that to your cells. You're sending that to your tendons. You're sending that to your liver. All those parts of your body, you're sending that message. That's why in Qigong, we work with, in Spring Force Qigong, we work with the organs and the emotions tied to them. So can I tell you a little bit about the philosophy
please
there?
do. Yeah.
Okay, so the liver in Chinese medicine is connected to anger and connected to impatience. The liver is connected to the gallbladder, the tendons, the eyes. So often, not always, but impatient people, angry people can have issues in those areas. So what do we do in Spring Force Qigong? Along with a movement called the moving of yin and yang, which mimics the balance and harmony of the universe, we bring in the emotion of happiness. Remember, we talked about words and thoughts have energy. So when you say, I am allowing happiness, happiness is moving through my cells and through my thoughts, I know I can facilitate healing. And you breathe in, you breathe out. I'm not going through all the form, but you're allowing that vibration of happiness to come into your body. And you can also, we use visualization. You can imagine the color green connected to the wood element and happiness coming into your liver. And saying happiness helps heal your liver in Chinese medicine. Now, not just for 1 second, for a duration of time. Then we can move to the heart. The heart can hold love, the Shen in Chinese medicine, the emperor. But it can also hold excess emotions, such as jealousy and extreme emotions. What do we do to help the heart, small intestines, thyroid, circulation? We bring in joy. How many human beings actually feel joy, especially if they're dealing with chronic pain? That's pretty hard. But if you are imagining feeling joyful and being joyful, you allow your heart to pump more. You open up your imagination, your visualization. We bring in the color red. Then we can go to the spleen, the pancreas, the digestive system. Often people who worry and overthink, and you know this, they have digestive issues, right? Yeah. Anxiety is in the stomach. So we bring in the golden yellow color of peace and groundedness. And you can say over and over again, I am peaceful, even when you don't feel it. I am peaceful, I am grounded. And you imagine sending out smoke or light of anxiety out to the ends of the universe. Then we can move to the lungs. The lungs hold sadness. The lungs and large intestine work together. They are on duty in fall. It also corresponds to the seasons. A lot of people with allergies, asthma, sadness, loss, grief, that's buried in the lungs. So we bring in the white light of contentment, which also helps the flow in our large intestine. And then the fifth of the five, they're called the 5 element movements.
5 elements.
That's right, often a foundation of Chinese medicine. The fifth one are the kidneys, the life force, the vitality, the spine, the brain, the ears, among many things. And we bring in the deep, dark blue color, and we focus on what we appreciate. Because the emotion held in the kidneys is often fear. And so if we bring in what we appreciate, we can help fear dissipate. There was an experiment done by, I believe, Dr. Joe Dispenza, where he asked people to hold the feeling of gratitude for 10 to 15 minutes 3 times a day. And their immune system got stronger. That's energy. That's your thoughts and words. So just to give you an example, that's all self-loving, is it not?
It is, and it's amazing like how our definition of physiology of these or mechanism may be maybe completely different from each other. As I was telling you before we start, um, when you graduate from medical school, you think that you know it all and everything out of what you know is not true. But we can focus on the mechanisms and we can argue about mechanisms forever and not get anywhere. Or we can focus on the outcomes and see that what we do as conventional medical practitioners can come only so far, and we can look at the outcomes of other modalities. And then many of these modalities of treatment, like Qigong, that were considered not being evidence-based, now have gone through different processes of different types of investigations, sometimes rigorous investigations, and they have shown that they are effective. I mean, I already feel better since we started talking, because you learn to relax, you learn to let go, you learn to open up your imagination.
Right.
And imagery is a big part of mindfulness practices that we use in chronic pain management as well. It's like different stories of the same reality. That's how I say. Like there is light, and you can talk about it in different languages, and you can talk about it in different ways, but the light is there, nevertheless. In the discussion and discourse of our practices, also in through my method of going step by step, but there is a step that we talk about what you talked about, and that's the concept of all is one. Like you are the universe presented in this life form in this moment.
Yes.
And universe presents itself in different, like we are all stardust organized in different forms. It can be organized in the form of a rock,
Right.
or it can be organized in the form of me sitting here talking to you.
Right.
And it's interesting, the magic poetry of the cosmic poetry that is happening in our life experience is that we can think about these things and we can discuss them. We are aware about being universe presented in this life form in this moment. It gives you a concept of understanding bigger than our self-limited experience of life. And once you get out of this limited concept, you look at the whole universe as you, and you presented in this moment, which is already winning the lottery through the 14 billion years of cosmic evolution for me and you and other 7 billion people to come to this form of life form and experience. That gives you some sort of appreciation about this life experience. And you don't need to be a physician then to respect the life experience, because as far as we know, at least in this solar system that we have, it's so far unique as much as we know, which is already extreme if you look at it, if you think about it. Now, this unique experience with all these different presentations will have some sort of characteristics, which we call mind, body, spirit, energy, interest, healing, ailments. All of these things are different presentation of this life form. So if we can guide this life form towards coming home in a way to realize self, stop the fight with self, have the self-peace, and then focus your mind and body and energy towards your healing, to correct the source of the ailment. I think we can come a long way. We can name it whatever we want. We can label it the way we want. The goal is healing of the patients.
You just said a very important sentence, coming home again.
Yeah, the most important journey of life is not going anywhere, it's to come back.
It's coming home again. Often when I share Qigong, I'll say, let's come home.
Yeah.
Let's come home. Because that's what we learn. We are home. Most of us go through our days, we're in our heads. We put on our clothes, we brush our teeth, but we don't really stop to think of this vessel.
Yeah.
And love this vessel. You know, because you work with chronic pain. I think one of the most challenging things in life, other than being in war and famine, of course, is chronic pain. We have enough challenges in life, let alone having pain. It can isolate you. It can lead to depression. You know all this. And so the more you can be tender to yourself and loving and come into your body and tell it how much you trust that it's healing, then it no longer is your enemy. You're almost making peace with the story of your pain until hopefully it moves away.
Yeah. I keep mentioning this concept of acceptance, commitment that comes after acceptance. We have this art, like a way of psychological methodology called acceptance and commitment, that you accept everything as is, not that you necessarily don't have to like it or dislike it. You just accept the reality as is and kind of connect to it and make peace with it in a way to be able to commit to the next step, which is the healing. The process of healing starts with the acceptance. If you reject part of you, you start that internal fight again. But you have to make peace with everything, including your pain. Instead of hating the pain, observing the pain, getting to know the pain, finding its reason, finding its purpose. Each sensation, each thought, each movement of our body can have a reason. And once you realize the reason, then you can change the reason, you can change your direction, you can find the reason that is close to your core values. This whole notion of the further you get from your true self, the worse you feel. And the closer you come to your true self, the better you heal. This is the passage of getting far from ourselves and becoming sick, coming back home and heal is the essence of my methodology of working on the mind-body temple concept.
Do you notice that people heal more who are accepting and love themselves more? Do you notice?
Making peace with yourself, as I said, is an important part of the foundation of the temple that you want to build. You want to rebuild your mind-body temple. Why do I call it temple? Because that's the only, your mind and your body are the only things that you own. Okay, everything else are just made-up contracts. Your life experience happens in your mind and body. So you better keep it clean and, organized.
Right.
Like you keep a temple organized. What is more sacred than your own life? Because, that's where your life experience happens. So I call it mind-body temple. Now you want to rebuild it. You were born with it. You didn't have many of the, envies and guilts and fears and worries when you were born. You had just some basic needs. But you learn to have all of these worries and guilts and shame and anger and envy and all of these.
Lower vibrations.
Exactly. So that's a state of being. You change your state of being. The further you get from yourself, your state of being changes. And the closer you come to yourself. Once you become, if we all get lucky and one day we become one with our true self, many of these ailments will go away.
Right. And I guess it's the process of life is to go through the stages that are difficult, but come home again and learn to have a new story, right? Not go back to all the past. I think we were also a society focused on what happened to us, what went wrong, what we did wrong, what our parents did wrong, what our countries did wrong. And of course you want to heal on any past trauma, but you also want to create a new story. We learn this in Qigong too. Don't focus on past trauma. Learn to focus on what is good right now, right this second, in the present moment. Even as I'm speaking, both of us just felt into the lower part of our body right now, our feet, our knees, our thighs, you feel that. You're out of your head. You're in your body. And I think what we want to share is who we are today, whether we have pain or whether we have many challenges, not from the past, but what is our story moving ahead. And I think it's hard to do on your own without tools when you're suffering. And that's why I think daily rituals of connection are so important, whether you call it mysticism, religion, nature, however you want to call it, the stars and the moon. Connecting daily, you almost sounded magical when you talked about the planets in the solar system. I think it's really important every day to connect to something more than just what's around you. But actually take a moment to take a few breaths is a beautiful start.
Absolutely. That's why they call breath anchor, because that brings you to this moment. And it's with you all the time, but we are never aware of it.
Right.
And thank God most of the important elements of life are not in our control. They're
Exactly.
automatically being controlled
Exactly.
by our autonomic nervous system.
Right.
But when you become aware of them, when you pay attention to how many systems are working for us just to continue to be alive, that's already the miracle over there. I always say that you are the universe, right? But wake up to it and act like it.
Right. And why do they talk so much about gratitude? I mean, everyone hears gratitude, gratitude, but it does change, I call it frequency because we're energy. It does change your vibration if you appreciate. So at night before I go to bed, I actually write out the things I am grateful for. And I've learned from my school, Spring Forest Qigong, that also writing out, how did you do today? How'd it go? Did you handle that painful moment well? And if you didn't, can you do better next time? Yeah. It's reflective without punishment. It's like, you know what? I did that pretty well. I was in pain today, but I managed to make a call. I managed to pay a bill. You know what? I'm pretty proud of myself. And I'm grateful for that person at the bank who spoke to me kindly. And then we start learning that when we appreciate, we notice that bank teller. We notice the person behind the counter. That's no longer going through the motions of just paying and buying groceries. You're actually connecting with other human beings when you anchor and be in the present moment.
Well, Steffi, I know that there are a lot of studies done on Qigong, and they have found amazing results. I myself have sent patients to you.
Yes,
and,
you have. Thank you.
They came back and they said that they had the utmost beautiful experience to be present in the moment, and they felt that their level of energy has changed, and they are better on their path of going to heal and come back home. So I thank you for dedicating this time for today's podcast. I just want you to send a message to all the patients that are seeking hope out there, all chronic pain patients, all the patients with anxiety and depression who are looking for some hope, for some way for healing. What can you tell them?
Wow, that's a good question. That you are all born healers, and that it is not outside of you. You need the help from the pain specialists and the teachers and medical professionals. They can always help you, but that you yourself have the capabilities inside you to facilitate your healing. And it probably combines the physical intelligence of the body with the power of unconditional love. So the more you can go to your heart and consider what is good in those moments, what you do feel grateful for, what there is to love about yourself, just taking those moments each day will help you recognize that, believe it or not, you are born a healer. So I guess I would say that.
Fantastic. That was beautifully said. And I hope that we can connect more and discuss more on these concepts, hopefully in future sessions. And
be an honor.
I'll make sure that I direct more patients towards you. Thank you so much, Steph.
Absolutely.
Much
Thank you, Dr.
appreciated.
Rod. Thank you.